Hello, welcome to Bible Stories. This is Jonas,
And I'm Victor.
and here joining us is Christina,
Hey.
Cesar,
Yo.
Jose,
Hey.
Noelia,
Hi.
and Dora. We got a big group of people, and we're going to be looking over the story of Genesis chapter 19 on the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah, which is interesting. I actually think there's been papers published about this saying that there was actually a meteorological event that came down at around the time that this was probably taking place. Did you hear about that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But anyway, we'll get to that a little bit more in the discussion section. Why don't we read Genesis chapter 19? The doom of Sodom. Now the two angels came to Sodom in the evening as Lot was sitting in the gate of Sodom. When Lot saw them, he rose to meet them and bowed down with his face to the ground. And he said, Now behold, my lords, please turn aside into your servant's house, and spend the night, and wash your feet. Then you may rise early and go on your way. They said, however, No, but we shall spend the night in the square. Yet he urged them strongly, so they turned aside to him and entered his house. And he prepared a feast for them, and baked unleavened bread, and they ate. Before they lay down, the men of the city, the men of Sodom, surrounded the house, both young and old, all the people from every quarter. And they called to Lot and said to him, Where are the men who came to you tonight? Bring them out to us that we may have relations with them. But Lot went out to them at the doorway and shut the door behind him, and said, Please, my brothers, do not act wickedly. Now behold, I have 2 daughters who have not had relations with man. Please let me bring them out to you, and do to them whatever you like. Only do nothing to these men, inasmuch as they have come under the shelter of my roof. But they said, Stand aside. Furthermore, they said, This one came in as an alien, and already he is acting like a judge. Now he will treat you worse than them. So they pressed hard against Lot, and came near to break the door. But the men reached out their hands, and brought Lot into the house with them, and shut the door. They struck the men who were at the doorway of the house with blindness, both small and great, so that they wearied themselves trying to find the doorway. Then the 2 men said to Lot, Whom else have you here? A son-in-law, and your sons, and your daughters, and whomever you have in the city, bring them out of the place. For we are about to destroy this place, because their outcry has become so great before the Lord, that the Lord has sent us to destroy it. Lot went out and spoke to his son-in-law, who were to marry his daughters, and said, Up, get out of this place, for the Lord will destroy the city. But he appeared to his sons-in-law to be jesting. When morning dawned, the angels urged Lot, saying, Up, take your wife and your 2 daughters who are here, or you will be swept away in the punishment of the city. And he hesitated, so the men seized his hand in the hand of his wife and the hands of his 2 daughters, for the compassion of the Lord was upon him, and they brought him out and put him outside the city. When they had brought them outside, one said, Escape for your life. Do not look behind you, and do not stay anywhere in the valley. Escape to the mountains, or you will be swept away. But Lot said to them, Oh no, my lords! Now behold, your servant has found favor in your sight, and you have magnified your loving kindness, which you have shown me by saving my life. But I cannot escape to the mountains, for the disaster will overtake me, and I will die. Now behold, this town is near enough to flee to, and it is small. Please, let me escape there. Is it not small? That my life may be saved. He said to him, Behold, I grant you this request also, not to overthrow the town of which you have spoken. Hurry, escape there, for I cannot do anything until you arrive there. Therefore the name of the town was called Zoar. The sun had risen over the earth when Lot came to Zoar. Then the Lord rained on Sodom and Gomorrah brimstone and fire from the Lord out of heaven. And he overthrew those cities, and all the valley, and all the inhabitants of the cities, and what grew on the ground. But his wife from behind him looked back, and she became a pillar of salt. This is so epic. 27. Now Abraham arose early in the morning and went to the place where he had stood before the Lord. And he looked down toward Sodom, and Gomorrah, and toward all the land of the valley, and he saw, and behold, the smoke of the land ascended like the smoke of a furnace. Thus it came about, when God destroyed the cities of the valley, that God remembered Abraham, and sent Lot out of the midst of the overthrow, when he overthrew the cities in which Lot lived. Lot went up from Zoar, and stayed in the mountains, and his 2 daughters with him, for he was afraid to stay in Zoar, and he stayed in a cave. He and his 2 daughters, then the firstborn, said to the younger, Our father is old, and there is not a man on earth to come in to us after the manner of the earth. Come, let us make our father drink wine, and let us lie with him, that we may preserve our family for our father. Hold the phone, what?
So,
I overread
a little bit.
but also that was getting really weird. Okay, so
much to digest.
yeah, just to clear up, because I did overread, the actual reading was Genesis 19, 1 to 29. Verse 30 and onward is a different story. That is very weird.
However, there is some pretty crazy stuff going on 1 through 29.
Yeah, there is.
Would you like to open up the discussion?
Well, we talked about there's probably what actually happened. You know, it talked about brimstone and fire falling from the heavens. We can kind of speculate that that was some sort of a meteor or a meteor shower that happened in that valley. And I was looking at this with Sharon the other day. We had a quick read through of these passages, and we saw some of the maps of the time of the Valley of the Dead Sea, right? Which is whereabouts kind of Sodom and Gomorrah are located. Sodom is usually depicted as being on one side of the Dead Sea and Gomorrah on the other side. But it used to be a much higher Dead Sea before that destruction. After the destruction, a lot of the water seemed to have evaporated, and some of it came down into pools that became sulfur. Yeah. You know about this. Come on. Help me out here. What else?
Well, for the sake of the story, we will keep it in simplistic terms.
Yeah.
There is a lot of stuff going on here, but to keep it basic, Sodom, Gomorrah were some places that a lot of sin would happen. There was a lot of liberties people would take. Same-sex relations, adultery, like a lot of different types of. There was a lot of stuff that would go on there, and that was kind of God was getting a little fed up with that and with the ongoings. And then if you kind of briefly we touch the surface, you know, when they went there, you know, the men were asking, you know, they saw 2 men arrive. They were asking to bring the men out to have relations with them.
Yeah.
So
what a pervert.
So what a perversion.
Yeah.
But what's
I actually hadn't caught on that was probably sexual relations instead of just
right?
Oh
speaking.
yes. So that we can
have relations.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. So there was a lot going on here. I found it mind-boggling though at that point in time how Lot comes out and says, well, you know, no, don't touch these men. Here are my daughters. You know, do what you must for them. And that's kind of where I'm trying to understand where that came from.
Okay, it was an honor when somebody came, when somebody was your guest.
Right.
He was treated to the utmost. These being angels, and I don't know if
Lot knew,
but
And we know this from
people.
Yeah, we know this from the context of the previous story. Yes.
To them, instead, you know, here are my daughters, and there we see a little bit of God. Here's my son. Don't punish the humans. Here's my son. You know, just that. The LGBT, etc., they claim that no, homosexuality was not the only sin for which Sodom and Gomorrah were destroyed, and it's true. There was a lot of other stuff going on. People were just hateful of each other. People were just stealing. I mean, there was like debauchery was just.
Me too.
So the term
sodomia. I don't know in English the term sodomita, sodomia.
Sodomite or sodomite?
Yeah.
Sodomite.
So that means the homosexual or something like this. So it came from this.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
I don't know if you heard
Yeah,
this.
sodomy.
No, I'm not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you see this in the New Testament or in other scripture, the sin called sodomia, or I don't know.
That's what it's referred. That's what it's
Refers
referred.
to
Like a person
homosexuality.
who does a sodomite.
Okay.
Sodomite.
Sodomite,
Yeah. So
Somebody
refer
who
to
does
homosexuality.
sodomites, like a child was sodomized by this people.
Oh, you see, and all this time I've never put two and two together until right now. So
Uh-huh.
that's interesting.
And also maybe we can see here when he just bring his daughters, how the woman was very
They were,
Yeah.
low,
Very
inferior,
Like a
yeah.
piece of
To
property.
the
you
point
can-
that they got mad. They broke
Yeah.
down the door to get to the people.
Yeah, right. Because they're like, no, we don't want.
You
we
don't want
your
your daughters.
Yeah, that's
It's crazy. And also, law says, please don't do this with my guests.
Yes.
So the guests,
Got it.
they are
They're
more
more
important
honored.
than his daughters.
So where was Lot
What
originally from?
crazy.
He was Abraham's nephew.
The one that
He was
Yes.
Abraham Nahor's. He was the son of Nahor, the brother of Abraham.
because you know how they say, hey, this guy's he's a visitor, he's an alien here, and now he's trying to be a judge.
You know
So
that Abraham came from Ur, where
Right.
Iraq is today. Just before he came, Nahor, his brother, died, and so Lot was an orphan. So Abraham kind of brought him with him, kind of adopted him.
Yes, like a brother for him. Yeah. Then they separate and Lot
Yeah, because they
went
start
to
getting too
this
much
place.
ganado,
Mhm.
and then he says, okay, and then the help were starting to get into fights. So he said, let's separate. You go wherever you want. And Lot saw that was very greedy.
Yeah, Lot decided
He went
to
there,
go
yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's
He
there's
picked it
always
first.
the human
Just
factor has
human
been there
factor.
since.
Yes.
Yeah.
And in the verse, I think 28 or 29, says the Lord,
Look
it's
down towards
because
the
of Abraham, the Lord saved
Mhm.
Lot.
Well, that was going to be my next point because I guess I missed that when we did the reading, but that's where I was going to get
Yeah.
to. So the angels came. So obviously assumptions are assumptions, but had he not behaved that way with the angels, do you think that he would have been saved? Because when the angels got there, he didn't know they were angels. We're assuming he didn't know they were angels, right?
Yeah.
Or do we
because, yeah, because these are the two. Remember, the three came with Abraham. One of them was supposedly Jesus, the Lord, and the other angels. From there, when Abraham was talking, when he gave the promise and said, "At this time, Sarah will conceive," and then this is the two angels went to Sodom and Gomorrah.
Oh, okay.
It's
So-
the same moment.
The same-
like,
the same moment, right.
story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're just taking a week in between to tell
Yes.
So they came and they ate and they washed their feet at Abraham's tent, and then from there the two angels departed. And that's when Abraham started walking with the Lord and say, and the Lord told him, "Look, I'm gonna destroy it." And he says, "If that was like 50,
40.
Oh, that's
40,
right.
yeah.
Okay, yep.
10.
Yep.
10."
And so God remembered Abraham,
Yeah,
and that's
exactly.
why he spared
Yeah.
Lot.
Exactly. And his family.
That's how it is in 29 is where that is.
Yeah.
And so then at the end, it was only Lot, his wife, and the two daughters. Because
No, his
son-in-law.
wife was out.
well, leaving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you know the lady
It
disobeyed.
was just the two daughters.
Yeah.
Because
Disobeyed.
they lied,
Algo con la mujer.
they
No, no.
children.
Yeah.
Did the son-in-laws make it? I don't think.
No, they didn't.
No, because they thought he was
They
joking.
thought it was
Right.
a joke.
Well, the joke's on them now.
Look
So-
the similarity with Noah. So was Noah,
Right.
his wife, and
Except
three
Noah's
men.
Noah's son-in-law.
So his
son-in-law, they
Yeah.
went in the ark with him.
Yeah, but I mean, one family, and here the same. Just one family was saved from this destruction. Yeah.
And when we see back to Noah, he was the last righteous man on earth
Yes.
at this
Mhm,
time.
mhm.
So
They
maybe
stood up for him for 40 years. They probably went by and said, "Look at the crazy guy." I mean, we don't it never rained before. It was like a vapor coming from the earth and irrigating the
The
vegetation.
land, yeah,
Mhm.
crazy. Yes.
40 years, that's a long time.
Do you wanna say something?
No, just the fire came from the heaven to destroy the city.
And
Yeah.
historically, they've done studies where it happened.
So, moral of the story is don't mess with God or you get meteorited, or don't have relations that are against God's will, and be respectful when He visits you, because clearly being respectful, seeing the respect that Abraham had, saved Lot and his his family, right?
His
extended
extended, yeah,
family.
family.
And are there any more moral points that we can draw
Well,
from
this is something I'm just thinking. It doesn't talk about hell as being fire and brimstone.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Is brimstone maybe sulfur? The brimstone maybe is sulfur. Do
possibly.
you know, Cesar? And what a similarity, fire and brimstone from heaven coming down, and if you disobey, that's where you're gonna end up.
God brings hell to you.
Yeah,
Man.
And about disobedience, we could see
The wife.
Lot's wife.
Yep.
Yeah.
Once
She
again.
disobedient.
Yep.
Oof.
It's always the wise, man. It's always the wise.
Women are more curious than men.
Yeah,
Maybe.
it's true.
Because
Curious, yeah, I think it's curiosity.
said, honey, just don't look back. Why? Just don't look back.
She will look.
Oh, man.
Otherwise, our food would be really bland with no salt.
Oh, yeah, you are correct. We are the salt of the earth, right? But well, anyway,
Sorry, go ahead.
thank you very much for catching up with us here on Bible Stories, reading of Genesis chapter 19, verses 1 to 29, not greater than that because it gets weird. We are once again always here welcoming you to join us on Thursdays at 2 at 625 East Sam Houston Boulevard. Please do come by, and we'll see you next time.